step around the step stool. For those of you who had opportunity earlier to hear from Charlie, I want you to be as excited as you were earlier to hear from amazing third grader here at Van Ness Elementary School. I am proud chancellor for the District of Columbia Public Schools, Louis Farabee, and today is an exciting day for our school communities as we think about technology in our schools. One of the themes that I heard a year ago in my entry in the district is this concern, this notion around ensuring that we are appropriately integrating technology in the classroom. There was also this call for ensuring that there was equity in access and technology across all of our schools. And we're proudly gathered today to share with you how we've responded. And we're really excited that this investment that we will unveil today not only represents an investment at this time, but is a multi-year approach where we will be providing access to students over a number of years. The way we thought about it is we want to begin with a focus on particular grade levels and then have devices follow those students as they matriculate through their experience in DC Public Schools. That will begin with devices in grades 3, 6, and 9. And then those devices will transition with students to grades 4, 7, and 10. And then we'll continue to grow over the next 3 years access in grades 3 through 12. As we do so, it's important to note that there will be approximately a 3-to-1 access to devices for students in all other grade levels. So this is a huge undertaking, and we'll begin with about 16,000 devices to students, which is amazing, right? We can clap that up. To prepare for the delivery of the devices, there's been a lot of work and a lot of collaboration across teams. So first, I want to recognize Lindsay Parker and the Office of the Chief Technology Officer, who's been amazing in supporting this effort. Thank you so much for your leadership. Because of Lindsay's leadership, we've had tremendous partnership between the DCPS Information Technology team, the DCPS Ed Tech team, and then also with Octo. And between those three entities, we've done a lot of work to ensure that our devices can be deployed safely. We've thought a lot about how we support teachers and school leaders for appropriate integration. More importantly, we've thought about what is the right device to ensure that students are able to expand their learning experiences. And so today we're proud that we can announce the device that was selected is the Microsoft Surface Go. And we are pleased that we have representatives from Microsoft with us here today. And so recognize Dana Barnes, who's with Microsoft, and he's going to share a little bit more about the devices. But we're pleased that we've been able to partner with Microsoft, who's been extremely responsive to DCPS needs. And so you may be thinking, what about the student experience? And so we're going to give you some highlights today of what the student's experience will be, but you should know, again, that there's been a lot of preparation over the last couple of months to ensure that we've thought through everything possible as we think about students open up the world through technology in their classroom and how our teachers will utilize these tools in the classroom. But we also know that there's no substitute for instructional leadership in our educators, but we know when they have tools in the classroom, they can expand the reach of our students and their learning experiences. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Barnes to come forward, and as he represents Microsoft, he's going to share a little bit more about the device that students will be receiving. Welcome, sir.
All right, maybe I should step up on this. Let's see what we got here. No, I won't do that. So good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. Really excited. Thank you, Chancellor Farabee, for inviting me, and Lindsay for inviting me. You know, the mission statement for Microsoft is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And when you start to think about what's going to happen here today at Van Ness and what the young men and women are going to have an opportunity to use, it's fantastic. I will tell you, when I was a kid, I would have loved to have that. I'm a product of the Richmond, I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. I'm a product of the Richmond City Public School System. They didn't put quite the care and loving attention into the students, as we're seeing happen here in D.C. So it's fantastic. You know, the Surface Go device was a device that we created because we knew, kind of going back to our mission statement, that there were those people in the community who needed computing power, who needed access and the ability to use tools, but maybe didn't have the dollars, the funding to buy, your super big laptop, desktop machine. We're talking about a much lower cost machine, but a very, very high quality machine. And candidly, it was really designed for education. So this is the perfect place for the Surface Go. And DC is the perfect place for us to showcase the power of technology and what it can do in education for some of these young men and women. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited about the partnership that Microsoft is establishing, not only with DC Public Schools, but with the entire community. We're doing a lot of things beyond just the Surface Go. We have our Youth Spark program, teaching young men and women to code in underprivileged areas. We have our, what is it called? DigiGirls. Thank you, Jean. She keeps me on point all the time. DigiGirls, where we're focusing on teaching young ladies about technology and how they can get into STEM. So all of these programs are really designed to boost up the country's skill set, kind of that pipeline of talent that we have across the U.S. And we have one of our major offices here in D.C. We have an office, one out in Reston, one in Chevy Chase, and a large community of employees who volunteer on a significant time, to help the youth of the city. And so, with that, I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to thank you for having us here, and I'm looking forward to the partnership as we take these devices and help these young men and women really blossom and achieve more.
Thank you again, Mr. Barnes. I want to reiterate that as we thought about devices, we wanted to ensure the devices were developmentally appropriate. And so as Mr. Barnes spoke earlier about the device in its hybrid nature, I do want to lift up that it is a device in which it has the functionality of a laptop, but it also has tablet functionality as well. It also features a stylus, which is something that was really important to us to ensure that as students are developing their fine motor skills, they have the ability to utilize that as a tool as well. And so we believe that this is the right device for us to help expand the learning experiences for our students, and can be a tremendous tool for our teachers in the way that they're opening up the classroom. One example, and when we got opportunity to preview device, is the features for the camera and video. And so we foresee teachers and students utilizing this tool to capture things inside and outside of the classroom, and then utilizing that again to enhance the learning experience. So we're really pleased that we have this device and allows us to provide this type of experience for our students. I also wanted to take a moment and turn a little bit more internally with gratitude for so many people on the DCPS team that have been a part of getting us where we are today. And so I want to recognize Deputy Chancellor Amy Mastera for her leadership. Dr. Mastera has truly owned this effort from start to finish, and has been instrumental in the collaboration with the other teams, but also ensuring that we were successful in the procurement process and are here today with devices. Also, with the information technology team, the ed tech team, I see Karen Cole and her team. Just thank you so much, and let's give the DCPS team a round of applause for their leadership as well. Again, they've been tremendous in thinking about every aspect of the devices. You should know that we currently use Gaggle software, which is a solution that allows us to monitor student activity on devices. We currently utilize that as a safety tool. And so this will be another enhancement into safety of devices when students have them. Also, you may be wondering whether or not students will be taking devices home or devices stay in school. So the plan right now currently is for devices to remain in schools. We want students to have the ability to utilize devices in the classroom and on the school campus. As we utilize devices and they're deployed, we'll continue to monitor implementation and determine if a solution that involves taking devices home is a part of the DCP as a rollout of the devices. I also want to thank our parents. So I see a few parents in the room that were a part of helping us plan for implementation and rollout. And so please join me in giving our parents a round of applause. I'm a firm believer that the process for successfully educating our students is a three-legged stool, and that is you've got school leadership, and then you have administration, but then you have our parent partners. And our parent partners have been really instrumental in pushing us around all the different considerations that need to be thought about as relates to devices, and helping us think about how we should prepare accordingly. And through the leadership of our parents, I believe we're in a much better place and have thought through a lot about how devices should be deployed and the way that they should be utilized in the classroom. Is something that we're really pleased. I am also pleased to share that as we're in the coronavirus season and we're all thinking about COVID-19, DCPS is also being thoughtful around how we will leverage technology and potentially how technology could be utilized to continue the education process for students should there be a time period where students are out of school. And I know Microsoft has stepped up to also lend their support as well. So it's something that we appreciate and really grateful for. As we think about equity and access, I also want to call out that previously many schools were getting devices and purchasing technology through a number of different avenues that was really creating a digital divide within DCPS. And so we had some schools that were using PTA funds, some schools would use their flexible dollars year after year, and we had a wide range of devices in our buildings. Because we are deploying devices in this manner, it allows us to narrow the scope of the types of devices that are being purchased and utilized in our schools, which gives us an advantage with technology support. And so we know that we are supporting specific devices in our buildings, but it also takes some of the pressure and burden off schools thinking about how do they build out robust access to technology in their building with funds that could be utilized in other ways. And so hopefully schools will take advantage of having not to worry about this and will begin to think about how they can utilize their dollars in other ways. So that's something that we're really excited about for our schools. Also, as we think about the launch of the devices and we think about how we can support our learners, it's important to note that these devices have been tested and can be utilized for testing. So that's not the only utilization that we'll have, but it is a part of how the devices will be launched. And we are upon testing season soon. So for many of our schools, we believe that this will allow us to shorten the amount of time that testing occurs in school because of the lack of access to devices. And so typically when testing season begins, it can be weeks at a time because there are many students that need to test and there's limitation on the number of devices in the building. And so with the addition of devices, we can now hopefully shorten that time period and ensure that there are places in the building that students can test and we can complete that process in an easier way. So at this time, I've got my note that I've given you all the information that I can give you at this point. So we're going to take a brief intermission, and then we'll come back, and then you'll hopefully get an opportunity again to hear from Charlie, and then hopefully many of you will join us as we do a demonstration and have a hands-on experiences with the devices. So thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. And welcome to Van Ness. So excited to hear someone from Microsoft is here. We actually just launched Microsoft coding classes taught by one of our parents who's a Microsoft employee. So you've been a great support to us, and we appreciate that. So my name is Cynthia Robinson Rivers. I'm the head of school here at Van Ness and have been since we founded the school when it reopened back in 2015. We are thrilled to be hosting the launch of the Empowered Learners Initiative. And I want to give a warm welcome to Mayor Bowser, to our Chief Technology Officer, Lindsay Parker, to our Deputy Chancellor, Amy Maestera, to my Instructional Superintendent, Kim Jackson, and of course, Chancellor Farabee. Welcome. Because of the ELI program, we've received over 100 Surface Goes in the past week, and our third graders are super excited to get to work on them. We're going to go into classes in a few moments, and you will notice that we are actually notably low-tech at our school. You'll see that we have natural environments in our classrooms, lots of plants everywhere, students working in a project-based, hands-on way, a classroom makerspace in every room, and an art center in every room. And we pride ourselves in attending to the socio-emotional and physical development of students just as much as their cognitive development. With that in mind, we are actually quite aware of the risks and the possible challenges of screen time, and we keep that in mind as we roll out an initiative like this. Now, that said, we are deeply, deeply grateful to have these new devices because we know that effective leveraging of technology can be one of the most powerful ways to close the achievement gap. The use of these devices will help us in a few key ways. One, having groups of students work on a high-quality device helps us to lower our ratios and have smaller groups of students working with a high-quality teacher. The devices are amazing, but they aren't the silver bullet in comparison to the small group targeted learning that happens with a human being, the teacher in the classroom. Two, the work that students do on the devices is personalized to the student's individual needs. So we could have a second grader who has some missing skills working on a device on some kindergarten work, right beside a second grader being challenged with fourth grade materials. And that is a game changer for many of our students as they remediate some of the deficits they may have had. And then lastly, these devices equal the playing field for our students who may not have access to technology at home. They're able to complete research. For example, right now they're doing research on animal habitats, right, Charlie? And women's history. In the past, we've used our local budget, and we've been scrappy and creative and done donor choose and other fundraising. But before now, we have not ever had this large scale and investment in technology. And I think I can speak on behalf of all the schools in the district to say we are deeply appreciative, Chancellor and Mayor, for the opportunity to have a new initiative that helps us to improve our student achievement results. I would like to introduce you to someone very special, one of our third graders who will be the recipient of one of our devices. Charlie Baker, come on up.
Good morning. My name is Charlie Baker, and I would like to welcome you to Van Ness Elementary School. At Van Ness, we use technology to conduct research projects, write stories, and practice our skills with personalized learning apps. As a third grader, I'm so excited to have my own tablet to use at school, and I would like to thank Mayor Bowser for making this investment. This Women's History Month, we are proud to have the first woman ever re-elected as our mayor at Washington, D.C. at our school today. She is a native Washingtonian and has served as a Ward 4 council member and an ANC commissioner. Most importantly, she is committed to providing every D.C. resident with a fair shot. Please join me in welcoming our mayor, Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Thank you, Principal. Let's give a hand to Charlie Baker. Isn't she so smart and have great presence and presents well? You are an outstanding representative of Van Ness Elementary. Thank you, Charlie. And I want to thank all of our speakers. Principal, I want to thank you. Isn't Van Ness a beautiful school? And you can tell that there is a lot of creativity and learning happening here. And this school is also a representation of what's happening happening in our city, people are coming back to DCPS. So thank you, Principal, for your leadership here. I know you've heard from the Chancellor, and you know how excited we are that we are making this technology investment in DC public schools. But you heard it from the principal. Technology is great. Great teachers are even better. So let's hear it for the teachers at Van Ness Elementary. Last year, our community made clear that they wanted us to invest more in technology in our schools, and we listened, and we invested more than $4.6 million in new devices. And through this Empowered Learners initiative, every student in DCPS will get a device over the next 3 years. Now, you can see this has been a thorough process. We wanted to buy devices that would last and would meet the needs of our students and educators. And before delivering the new devices, we also made technology infrastructure upgrades to our schools, identified digital citizenship lessons for students, and provided professional development to our teachers. It is important to us that this investment isn't just about buying the new devices and dropping them off, never to hear from the technology experts again. And now that our schools are prepared, the wait is over. And you should all know that the Chancellor has spearheaded this project. I'm glad to see our Chief Technology Officer is here, and I am very proud of the work that they have done together in a very short period of time. So let's hear it for the Chancellor and the Chief Technology Officer. Thank you, Lindsay. We have 16,400 devices that will be delivered to schools in all 8 wards. This is enough to ensure that every student in grades 3, 6, and 9 receives a device. And in my upcoming budget, we will include an investment to provide a device for every student in the 4th, 7th, and 10th grades. This is how we will close the digital divide in Washington, D.C. Again, this is your government at work, your tax dollars at work, DCPS thinking big about how to close gaps in achievement and learning, but more importantly, an opportunity for every student in our city. So I'm happy to be here to help launch it, and stay tuned because over the next 3 years, this initiative will be complete. Thank you all very much. Okay, we have some time for questions. Let me ask the Chancellor and Lindsay to join me. I don't know, Charlie, you want to come up and answer some tough questions from the press? Just in case. Just in case. Help me out. Any questions? Yes, Sam.
Mayor, what about, will the kids use them here, or do they take them home? Do they get tore up? I mean, what's the issue there?
Those are good questions. And you heard me refer to something that's also important, and I think you also heard it in our principal's remarks, that how we use the devices, both physically taking care of them, but also making sure that our students know how to responsibly use them, and parents know how to responsibly monitor them, and teachers have what they need. So the Chancellor has worked on that process, and I'm going to ask him to speak to it.
Thank you, Mayor. So at the plan is currently that students would have devices in schools, and the devices would remain at school at this time. As we launch devices over the next 3 years, we'll continue to monitor implementation to determine if there are opportunities for students to take devices home, but that's not currently the plan.
Yes.
How much will this cost over 3 years?
The initial investment is $4.6 million, and over the 3 years similarly.
So our largest launch of devices is in this fiscal year, and so as we implement the implementation of the devices in future years, we anticipate that it could be a lower cost, but would be a similar expense.
And when we think about the type of investment we have in our schools, I think this year we're going to approach a $2 billion investment in public education. This tool represents an important part, but numbers-wise, it's pretty small. Yes.
So, Mayor, I'd like to ask about APEC. You put out a statement last night about that. Could you tell us what the concerns are? Why you are? Why did you put out the statement?
I think we got a statement from the organization that was sharing some information to their attendees out of an abundance of caution because of an attendee, I believe, from New York who was there, who may have had some exposure in New York. So we continue to believe even that those interactions presented a low-risk environment for the district, but we wanted to share what we knew.
I understand they're cleaning the convention center.
You can expect that we have a high level of cleaning and disinfecting throughout all of our public buildings. I know it happened at Van Ness because I smelled it when I walked in the door. And I have asked our DGS and all of our independent agencies, including the convention center, to be mindful of, and they already are very vigilant. This is where we welcome the world to Washington, D.C., and we're very vigilant about cleaning, but I've asked them to look at all of their kind of disinfecting protocols for high-use areas and be ready to even go further if necessary.
They've been cleaning a lot of buildings around the city.
We clean buildings every day in the city.
You did, but I'm saying specifically
so
because of this.
Let me be more specific because if, for example, like in the convention center, even though we think that the exposure was low and even remote, I've asked, and the chancellor knows, and everybody's responsible for a public building, if we did have exposure in one of our buildings, you can expect that we would be prepared to go in with an amped up level of disinfecting in a building. We haven't had that experience yet in any of our buildings, but part of our preparation is to be prepared to do that.
Any reason you're wearing a DC United scarf?
Yes. I'm close to, Audi Field here at Van Ness, and I didn't wear a coat, and I like this scarf.
No, one more.
Yes.
The Bloomberg question.
Sure.
Obviously, he pulled out yesterday. You endorsed him early and stayed with him. Any reaction to the fact that he's pulled out and endorsed Mike?
Well, obviously I'm disappointed. I think Mike would have been a great president, and I think he has the record and what it takes to beat. And then I don't want to get our children are here, and I don't want to be too political, but I think he has what it takes to win the White House. And so obviously I'm disappointed, but we move on. Thank you.
It's called Hello Smart. Okay.
Two of your research of the ocean go. This is what's going to happen.
Oh my god, look at all these sharks! There's so many sharks!
How hard? No, see?
That's